Texas versus Vandy. Vandy is 7-1, guys. Not many people probably predict that at the beginning of the year. Maybe some people would. 3-1 in the SEC. Texas is favored, though. This opened at 3. It is down to 1.5, so it is getting bet in the opposite direction. But, hey, the public's betting on Vandy. That works out for the other team most of the time. So Vanderbilt, 9th in the country points per game, 4th in the country yards per game on offense, 6th in the country in yards per play, 7 yards per play. Third down percentage, 8th in the country. Guys, this is just a super efficient, good offense. There's nothing special about it. They line up, they beat you at what they do best, and they keep the ball and chains moving, and they eventually get to the red zone. I will say this is the weakness. They're 48th in the red zone. So if you want to play the game of that, like you just let them drive down the field and stop them, fine, but you also deal with too much time comes off the clock. So, again, got to stop them on third down, even though they're elite at converting. Diego Pavia does it all for them. 20 total touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 68.8% completion percentage. Ced Alexander, I thought, was a pretty good back, and he's taking it kind of to another level. He's got 10 total touchdowns between receiving and rushing, 388 yards rushing, 5.3 yards per carry. Texas would love to have those numbers from the running back at this point. He's a good back. And then Eli Stowers, their best player on offense, in my opinion. 31 receptions, 397 yards, 12.8 yards per catch, 2 touchdowns. Wide receiver, it's Junior Sherrill and a bunch of guys, honestly, so you got to stop him as well. But this is a good offense, and they're, like Sark said, they don't do anything special, but they're just super, super efficient.
Yeah, and I think the stats that you left out that I want to call into the conversation are, and this is going to sound weird as I say it, they are number 133 in plays per game and number 131 in time per play. They run 60 plays a game, and they take up over 30 seconds per play. Like, they are going to control the ball, or at least that they want to control the ball, right? And that's the thing that, like, when you talk about them being efficient, they're going to hold on to the ball. They're going to boa constrictor this game. Like, that's what they want to do, because when you look at the other side of the ball, you're talking about all their offensive advanced stats. They're number 32 defensively, S&P plus. Number 63 in points per drive, number 60 in opponent adjusted defensive efficiency. Not a good defense. Not a good defense, right? That's why they want to control the ball. They want to control the clock. They want to control the pace. That's why they do that. I think that, to me, is I mentioned it, when we talked at the second topic, can Texas beat Vandy without Arch? Like, the questions I have about the Texas offense don't necessarily change with whoever's at the quarterback, right? Can Texas win at the point of attack? Vanderbilt is actually surprisingly good in the trenches. They're only allowing 2.2 line yards per rush. It's like they're really good at the point of attack. Now, can Texas lean on these guys? Can they tire them out? Can they get them to a point where they're able to get some space, to get some running room? Can Texas capitalize on the fact that they give up? The explosiveness stats are weird. Like, when you look at advanced stats, but like per completed pass, they're giving up 1.5 points, which is a huge number, right? So, like, they're susceptible to big plays, right? But can Texas control the ball enough to capitalize on that? Can Texas control the ball enough to get that? Because, again, the big fear I have going into this game, Texas's propensity to start slow and Texas' propensity to just dry up for like a quarter, right? Because if you do that against Vanderbilt, you're not getting a ton of bites at the apple. You may get 5 or 6 offensive possessions at most. So, like, you can't go 3 or 4 of those without scoring points and expect to win this game.
No, 100%. And it's very interesting because I don't think there's many teams like Vanderbilt is on purpose, like purposeful with the way they play their offense. There's not many teams like that are that slow. Usually you're slow because, hey, we're not that good offensively, so we're going to slow this down a lot. And hope we win in a fluky way. That's kind of what Kentucky did versus us. No, Vanderbilt's like, no, we're good at this, and we're just going to keep doing it, and there's nothing you can do to stop us. And we'd probably be pretty good at running another system if we wanted to as well. So they have actual talent, and they've decided to go with this, which is very odd to me, but it works for them. They're a really good football team. Like you said, Miles Capers along the defensive line for the yards allowed push against. 9 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks. He's a really good football player, and they have another good player at the linebacker position in Brian Longwell as well. secondary is not that great. It's kind of funny. You mentioned all those stats on the defensive side of the ball. They're pretty comparable to what you talked about Mississippi State last week. Like their defense isn't that much better than Mississippi State. They're just on the field a lot less. So if Texas can stop this offense on third down, guys, we can score and we could blow this game open. Now, can we do that? I don't know, because I've yet to see Texas really do that. And I've not really seen us run the ball enough effectively to do that on the offense side of the ball, especially if it's Matthew Caldwell at the quarterback position. So we haven't played a complete game yet. This would be a hell of a time to have one. We've had complete halves. We've had not even really halves. We've had complete quarters. We saw a complete fourth quarter versus Mississippi State. We saw the defense get 4 stops in a row when they needed it. We saw the offense score multiple times when they needed it. But we've yet to see halves in games from this team. We're going to have at least a really, really good half in this game, in my opinion, to win this football game. If we don't, we're not going to win this football game.
Yeah, and you mentioned getting off the field on third downs. Guess what their worst third down performance of the year was? Alabama, when they lost 30-14, right? Otherwise, they're like almost like they're upwards of 70% in a couple of games. Virginia Tech, they converted on 71% of their third downs, 50% against South Carolina, 60% against Georgia State. Again, I think some of the conversation here is like, some of the competition they've played, like you've seen it kind of turn a little bit as the competition has gotten a bit better, right? They feasted on, like early in the season, we thought South Carolina was going to be good. South Carolina is not good. And they beat South Carolina 31-7. So they're riding a bit of that wave. And I'm not saying that they're not a good team, but like when you look at teams that have the talent level like Texas, they had to eke it out against Missouri. And I think if Missouri's quarterback doesn't get hurt, I wonder what that game looks like late, right? LSU, even, who's just fired their head coach, they had to win that one by 7 on a late run by Diego Pavia, right? They got blown out by Alabama. So you see that some of as the talent level rises and they get deeper in SEC play, teams are able to push them a little bit, especially defensively. You know, the opponent's offense versus the Vanderbilt defense, and that's what I think Texas can and should be able to do. Which is again why we're curious about Arch Manning's health, but I think, and I said it kind of in the Matthew Caldwell question, like when you get Texas on the field, if you can get your playmakers into space, there's not a guy on this Vanderbilt defense past the linebacker that I think could run with anybody on this Texas offense. There's not anybody that I think can cause problems for Texas. Now, can the offensive line hold up and give Matthew Caldwell the space he needs to operate and get the ball out? Can the offensive line give the running backs a crease to make it past that front line, that front 7 that they've got? Like those are the big questions for me. Can they do that? Because if you get to that second level, there's a lot of room to work for Texas. And again, the athletes Texas have, there's a reason why, again, Vanderbilt, it's hard to get guys into Vanderbilt. It's hard to get guys into Vanderbilt because of the academic standards. So that's part of the reason why. I keep going back to this. The next 2 teams on the time per play and the plays per game are the service academies, Army and Navy. It's a similar situation, right? They're making up for the talent differential with the fact that they're going to milk the ball. So again, if Texas can get the offense in rhythm, I feel confident about it, but that's a big if based on what we've seen this year.
No, I agree. I think, like I said, third down, and then this, guys. If we have the opportunity to take points, take the points. Do not go for it on fourth down. If this is a 45-yard kicking in, it should be automatic. We're kicking the field goal. If it's longer than that, fine. There can be a discussion. But I think you should take the points in this game because points are going to be hard to come by in this football game. I really believe that, especially, again, Matthew Caldwell's the starting quarterback, and we can't get the run game going. So take the points in this game, execute. Penalties will be even bigger. Again, when you have less possessions, your margin gets that much smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Cannot be committing 8+ penalties in this game. Can we keep it to 4 or 5? We'll see. Gerald, what is your prediction for this game? Does Texas win this football game?
I think they do. I think it's getting back home. I think hopefully we'll have a rejuvenation. We part of the conversation that we haven't had is like Texas has been away from home for a month, and so there's something to be said about playing in front of the home crowd. DKR gets some grief because of its home field atmosphere, but I think fans have been clamoring for this. They haven't had home games since September, right? It's wild to say that out loud. So I think the defense is going to feed off the crowd. I think, the way that Diego Pavia plays, I think Texas has the athleticism to bottle him up a little bit on defense. I think Anthony Hill, Leon Leifau, Jelani McDonald, those kinds of guys, are going to be able to do things that will neutralize some of what Pavia does off script and off kilter. So I think Texas is able to probably take advantage of that. And I think, Texas is a couple of big plays away from winning this game. And I think, again, athlete to athlete, I'll take Texas over Vandy.
I'm going to go Texas 23-20. I think we do win this football game. I think obviously it's going to be a low-scoring football game. It's going to be interesting. Like, again, when we find out who the quarterback is, what the game plan is going to be, if it changes at all, depending on who the quarterback is. If DJ Campbell's able to go, Michael Taft will not be able to go in this game. That's already been said. Cole Hudson, don't expect him to be able to go in this game, but I do think Texas squeaks this one out, and you're going to have to go 3 of the last 4 here and win the football games if you want to get into the college football playoff. That should be the goal for Texas, so we'll see if they're able to do that, but I do think they'll be able to squeak it out versus Vandy.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. We really appreciate you guys doing that.